Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. It's Wednesday. We've bellied back up to the bar. The on sign is on. Dibs has made it. He, the jet setter that he is becoming here, has made it here with us. And I'm going to say it now. Whatever, ladies and gentlemen, whoever you're into, I know you've probably already seen his pictures. We're putting up on Instagram and TikTok. I'm going to go ahead and I'll announce the bad news now. There is no OnlyFans page. We verified it doesn't exist. He's a happily married man. You can't have him. He does look like Jason Momoa's stunt double at this point. His Instagram handle does it all. This just says, I don't even need to come up with any lines for this as I normally do. We have with us the cuddly Canadian, which was his boxing name, Mr. Chris Lewarne. I was about to fuck it up. Lewarne. I have no idea. What's up, Chris?
Thanks for having me, Sean. That's a big intro.
I try
no pressure.
No pressure at all. No.
I have my first objection. We said the word jet setter, but this is in Michigan. Would that really be jet set?
He's almost a youper too.
I hate the term youper, man. Like, I should adopt it just because I can market it, but I can't.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, Dibs. I mean, well, the reason I called him a jet
setter. You call me Southern Canadian.
Well, the reason I called him a jet setter is we were getting ready to do the show, and he's like, oh man, I'm getting ready to head out, flying to Detroit, and you gotta say Detroit, you gotta say it like in the real douchey way and call it Detroit. Go full douchey and be like, I'm heading to Detroit.
A bientôt.
So there you go. Oh, he went full in on it. That's full in. So Chris, welcome, brother. Thank you for coming on with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, my man.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get this house cleaning done and get ready. For those of you that are jumping on here watching us right now, please make sure you're going ahead and sharing this to any social media you got. We need to get Chris out there. He's trying to get his name out there. We want to get it out there for him. So make sure you're sharing it to all your social medias. And if you're just finding us for the first time because of Chris, make sure whatever platform you're on right now, you give it a like, follow, share. Go ahead and jump on Apple, whatever you're using. Make sure you give us a like and a comment. That star rating actually matters. I thought it didn't when I first got into this and thought it was just like something douchey that people said because they were a pain in the ass. But trust me, folks, this is how it gets known. This is how other people find out what you enjoy. And you can say, I already knew about that. What took you so long? So you can do those kind of things. But over my right shoulder, Chris, do you know what sticker and a cause is? Do you know what that is? Sticker and a cause?
You're going to have to enlighten me.
I'll enlighten you on what sticker and a cause is. So sticker and a cause is if you have something that you're supporting, maybe you have a gym, maybe you are a Krav Maga instructor, maybe you're a lawyer. Holy shit, Chris, you're all of that. Maybe you're any one of those things. You reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, even our emails, the Above the Bar podcast. Reach out, let me know what you got going on, and I'll give you the address. You send me a sticker. We put it up on the board, and I advertise you for free, and everybody can see the board. So it's free advertising.
I love it, man. Beautiful.
Look, there's too many of us out here that are trying to do something, and and too many people that are trying to keep it too close to the vest. So we throw that right up there for them. So, and the other thing is, maybe your media has gotten a little chubby and getting picked on in the schoolyard. Make sure you reach out to Media by Dibs. That's DIBS. And you can find Dibs on Facebook at Media by Dibs. And you can find him on Instagram at Media by Dibs. And on LinkedIn at Andrew Dibble, Dibble. No S.
No S at the end.
No S at the end. That's become a thing now because I I ruin people's names on a fairly regular basis. So make sure you reach out to him. And you mentioned belly up to the bar to Dibs. He's going to give you a 10% discount on your first order and a free consultation. I can tell you right now, if you've looked, anybody who's looked into media, if you've never looked into it and you don't understand how important a free consultation on your media is, those cats make a lot of money. So trust me, those firms, you need to reach out to them. So the bar is open. Everything is set up. Make sure we're all going and sharing away. How are you, Mr. Chris?
I'm good. That's a whole list of accolades. But first, I need to find a wife that knows how to clean her webcam camera. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe here.
Look,
we honestly just got married a month and a half ago. I think I've divorced her 3 times already.
that is a month. So I think I saw your pictures. Where was the honeymoon? I got to ask, because everybo's, the honeymoon, it's a weird thing.
It was a weird one. We did our honeymoon first. We had, my boss was getting married in Italy, so we were going to travel there anyway. And we're trying to put this wedding together ourselves. We're kind of self-sufficient people. So we're thinking, man, weddings are stupid expensive. Let's just elope when we're in Italy. We'll go, a week early, hopped on a boat in the Amalfi Coast. It was gorgeous. I loved every second of it. A couple of friends, easy, no stress. But you still got to do, when you come home, you got to do the one for your family, for your close ones and all that. So then we had basically 2 weddings. We had a second wedding here when we got home. And with all the stress that can have, it makes it easier because in our minds, we're already married. It's everything's awesome. Just roll with it.
And I'm assuming that Eva is your mom.
That's my mom.
Mom's already on here.
Mom, more hearts, Mom.
I'm not quite sure who. I think I know who this is. I think it's my buddy Keith, but because his, for whatever reason, whenever he throws a comment out, it never shows his name. It just says, "Oh, hey," for whatever reason. So I think that's my buddy Keith. So
I'm embarrassed about this, man. I don't want to be like, I'm not a millennial anymore. I think I'm too old for it. But I somehow, after Instagram started getting going, I just stopped even knowing how to log into my Facebook. I relearned the other day because I had to find old stuff. And I was like, oh, there's a whole, this Facebook's all new now. There's a whole new app out there. It used to be where you post
everything is
photos.
New. Yeah, everything is new. I just had to start learning TikTok. For our hockey team. I'm like, oh no, I don't feel 8,000 years old trying to learn something new that one of the people that followed me looked like they were 6. And I'm like, oh no, this is cool. I'm terrible.
So scared. I'm so scared to have to learn TikTok. Right now, as it stands, my mom is so much better at Facebook than me. And she'll say things like, Chris, this happened in my life. I said, that's amazing. She said, well, why didn't you like it? And I was like, what do you mean? You just told me.
Mom, I just told you.
I just liked you.
I gave her an exclamation mark. Even my punctuation suggests I liked it. She's like, no, you didn't go on Facebook and like it. I'm like, okay.
That's so great. Is it like that what was it? Was it like a Geico commercial where she's like, I'm unfriending you. And she flicks the thing off and the woman gets up and goes, that's not how this works. That's so great. Our friend Kristen just jumped on. She says, Amalfi Coast is beautiful. And Mom sent you a set of sunglasses. So I kind of want to start at the beginning. So we were talking about this before the show got going. Chris was saying, hey, he hasn't used his LinkedIn in a long time. And are you in Canada now still? Are you still up in Canada?
Yeah, we've been back now. I came back with the gym I was working at there to open up to help open up the Canadian company. And we've been up. We just celebrated our 5th year anniversary. So it's been exactly 5 years in a couple weeks.
So now, but you went through a lot of schooling. You passed the bar exam. You signed your name still with an Esquire at the end of it. So you are a no shit lawyer.
In New York. Yeah. I never bothered writing the bar in Ontario.
Okay. So you can still look, Dibs and I may need you someday. So keep that shit.
Right. Yeah. Just taking notes.
Just write that down.
It's funny you bring that up. I think I got an email 2 weeks ago saying my bar dues are so in relapse out in New York that I got to do something if I want to keep it current. So I might not be a lawyer right now. Don't hold me to this. I don't want anybody reaching out on my old LinkedIn that I don't check.
Somebody being like, "Hey, man, can you
fraudulent misrepresentation as a lawyer?"
Oh, that's so great. So, but I mean, and where did you practice law here in New York?
I practice here in Toronto, actually, at U of T. So there's a couple of schools here in Canada that the New York firms a couple of New York firms
Nice.
were like recruit out of. Basically, like U of T used to be Osgood was the first one, and then the market kind of moved down to Toronto. So it's U of T, Osgood, and McGill pretty much. If you want to work down there, that's a safer bet.
So, but now, how long were you doing that? Like I mean, I just think about it. Like I couldn't imagine going through all that education and just kind of being like, meh.
Well, before we get into that, you mentioned all the education. I'll tell you this: following your passion is beautiful. I'm still paying off my law school debt. So I see you at a Guinness.
It's not cheap.
I see the Guinness in the background, and it's really making me salivate because that's my favorite beer. But I'm on Sober November, so this is called Sober Carpenter. It's a non-alcoholic beer. So cheers, guys. I need a swig of this before I can tell the story.
But now hold on a sec. So I've heard of Sober October, not what there's.
But I like to drink too much, so I just kept postponing it.
Kristen, put your fingers in your. I know no nut November. I know no nut November. I know that.
No, that one I'm not gonna.
I mean, that's. Kristen says she loves to work out. You already got a question for you. Do you do Zoom classes?
Yes, Chris, and the answer is yes. So the gym, but long story long here, I got recruited out of my law school to go down to New York. I became an associate at like, I think it was like the 5th biggest firm at the world at the time. So theoretically I had it all made. I just didn't connect with it. I wasn't happy. And then my best friend was dying of cancer, and I took on my first boxing fight with a charity thing. And I just kind of got a whole new meaning to life. And I switched and I went to fitness, and I ended up landing at this gym called Barry's Boot Camp, which is huge now globally. At the time it was still building. I didn't even know what it was when a guy approached me. I was working at a dive bar at night and doing some shit. And I ended up just falling in love with the people. So now we've opened this beautiful enterprise called Barry's Boot Camp Canada. Over COVID, we were doing Zoom classes. But now there's a whole app that we do globally. So if you want to do Barry's Bootcamp classes, you can find it at the Barry's Bootcamp website, or it's at the Barry's.com website. I personally don't host classes anymore because on the Canadian side, they just have such great studios set up in New York and LA. I'll do private sessions every now and then, and or like small group sessions for private clients. But yeah.
That's why he doesn't have an OnlyFans, ladies and gentlemen, because he could just do a private class with you. We figured this shit out.
Is my wife on here?
Figured it out. I got the answer. I knew I was in there somewhere.
You just exposed him, Sean. Like that, you just took away his livelihood. His wife's gonna hear that. Now we can't do any more private Zoom classes.
Nope. She's gonna be like, "I got the camera now, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. I'll control this shit."
But I'd say even better than a Zoom class. Go down, check it. We're everywhere now. We got. Like
she's out in Cali. There you
go.
We found out in Cali.
We started out in West Hollywood. We started the gym. This is great. You guys are gonna love this. Our gym was started by a guy. It's really jacked up, gay bodybuilder dude. He's amazing. His name's Barry J. He's a friend of mine. He was working at Gold's Gym, and this is by his own admission, he was a recovering party drug addict. He was on like the gay kind of California party scene as this good looking bodybuilder guy. And he got off of it. He realized it was too much. And then he missed the high. He missed that feeling. So he created a gym where basically you don't need drugs, but it's like taking party drugs when you go. It's crazy. It's like red lights, just booming music. Everybody's like completely euphoric by the time they get out, sweaty, and you burn 1,000 calories. So what I will say, the answer is go check out a live class or a Barry's class. Honestly, you won't regret it.
Well, I got to ask you about the boxing thing for a moment. I want to kind of go back to that for a second. So I definitely believe this. Nothing in the world brings you back to reality of what's around you like the first time being punched in the face. I don't care what age you're at.
Yeah.
I was still in single digit age probably the first time I got punched in the face by another kid. I don't even know if kids do that anymore today, but were you a rugged kid that was into that growing up, probably threw hands a few times, or was it more of like, no, I've never done this, and somebody was like, hey, let's go box, and you were like, I'll give it a shot?
I grew up playing like football and rugby, so I wasn't unaccustomed to contact. And I was a pretty nice kid, but I could be a little lippy. We got in scraps and stuff here or there. And then at a certain point, I was trying to put myself through law school and everything. So I was working construction, and I tried to work at a bar, but I'm just so horrible in kitchens. I tried to be a bar back, and every time I took a nice wine glass out, it would just break for some reason or whatever. So eventually the guy made me, I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'11". At the time I was probably, I'm bigger now. At the time I was probably like pushing, like I was probably 170 soaking wet. But he's like, I'm gonna make you a bouncer. And this guy he was smaller than me, but he could just move and do shit. So he taught me everything about like how not to fight, how to grapple, how to hold, how to get guys out of the room as quick as possible. So, but again, you're a bouncer for years. You're going to get into scraps, but it's not like boxing, because scrapping and boxing is different. Boxing, the hardest part to me was about it wasn't just getting hit in the face, but it was about not backing up when you get hit in the face. No,
It's
not
standing
moving.
there.
Yep.
It's not even standing there. It's moving forward. It's running into the fire. Like when a guy throws a punch, your natural instinct is to move away from it. When you're going to be good at boxing, and I was training like a Mexican boxing gym, so it's very forward, very boom. So when a guy throws a punch, you have to move into it. And that's something that your instinct doesn't tell you. You got to teach yourself that. Once you teach yourself that, it feels great. Then you get fast, you get fun. It's good.
So how many fights? I mean, like you said, you started with a charity type thing, but how many kind of fights? Like, what was your path there? I mean, you obviously have a lot of hats that you've worn throughout life. So what was your path to get there? And
so my coach, I won the first fight on decision, and that was my official like ABA fight. That was like on the American Boxing Association fight. And then he wanted to take me. I was just honestly really good at cutting weight. So at 5'11", when I started cutting weight, it was crazy. I got down to like 149 at one point, and I passed out like on pad work. But then like I kind of fought in that like 165 range, whatever. Oh no, actually I fought back then lighter, like 158. So he was like, "You're so good at cutting weight. You're decent. You're not great. You're decent. We can maybe go pro, just because the cutting weight part is something you can't teach guys. The rest you can teach, you know." But I just never had that killer instinct. So he took me on a couple club fights. I probably had like, I don't know, 12, 15 club fights, but they're not all registered with the ABA. So my big claim to fame is I'm undefeated, even though I definitely got beat a couple times.
Yeah, I got a cousin who fights professionally out of Arizona. Wow. He's a heavyweight. He's 6'6", like 230, 240. Adam Stewart. He's a monster though. He was on that boxing. He was actually got discovered through a program that Sugar Ray and a bunch of them were doing, where they would go around the country and they would find these guys who either were already boxing or had the potential, and they would move. They paid for everything, and they would move them into this one house, and they would fight every week to keep their position in the house while they were preparing to fight in I think it was 2004 Summer Games is what it was, or 2008.
Sean, I think you're describing a show called The Contender.
It's funny that you say that. So The Contender, they were doing this as a real thing to prep American boxers before it was a TV show. It was a real thing.
Crazy. One of my best buddies actually from New York, he was a serious fight. He was on The Contender, Hollywood Hino, and he is just he was a serious guy. He trained a lot of white collar guys, so he knew how to move his pads, so they just felt great. And but he also was such a serious fighter. Like one time I saw him sparring a guy that was getting ready for something, and I was like, the difference between a guy that can go pro and a guy like me is that thing where you're like, he's all laughing and good, and then one time he got hit a little bit and his eyes just switched, and he just pummeled this kid. He pummeled. Like, I was a kind of fighter, if I was doing well, I would look at the ref to be like, are you going to call it? Like, he just destroyed this guy. Yeah. And he's the nicest guy in the world.
I say that all the time. Like, until you like got hit by somebody who knows how to hit. I can tell you right now, it was only one time I was going, and I want to get into this with you. It was when going for my brown belt in Aikido.
Nice.
I had to fight a bunch of black belts, and we weren't allowed to strike because of what Aikido was, but the black belts could strike. They wanted to just see the defensive moves. And I thought I was good. And the guy I was going up against was an amateur boxer. And I did something and left my midsection open, and he hit me with a quick pop. And he knew when I exhaled. He knew the moment I exhaled to hit me to push the last of the air out. I hit the ground. Chris, I was a bitch at that point. I was a bitch.
Yeah.
I was on the ground.
It's funny.
And he just started kicking me at that point.
Oh, he was allowed to.
Oh, yeah, he could kick. He was like, you better get up, Murph. I'm like,
dude, no, it's funny you say that. Like, because honestly, I didn't really I was surprised. I thought I would have more of a glass chin than I did. I never actually really got knocked down from hitting in the head. The only knockout I ever had was when I was fighting a guy. Everyone was sort of MMA fighters when I joined the Krav Maga Academy, and all the instructors had to spar. And there's one guy who was just so fast and able to hit me in the knee so perfectly before I could get my leg up to block. And I just eventually hit me 3 times the same spot, and I was laughing, and I just dropped to the ground on my knees, and I'm still laughing. I'm like, I can't get up. That's it. I'm done. You just beat me up through my knee.
Well, it's funny, and you get people like, so one of our defensemen is actually a Golden Gloves boxer, and people know it. I mean, I think he's just like Sean was saying, he's 6'4", 240, like, and people know, like, he skated last year and got one of our rivals, and everyone he walked up to, he's like, you want to go? And they're like, no, Shaw, we don't want to. No, like, we're not. No, like, no, you're going to hurt me. And it comes down. We just had a fight this week. I think I showed it to Sean, where one of our players one punch knocked out someone, and it was. But it's it's crazy.
I'll tell you how I did
almost know what they're doing
with the competitive with the boxing. I'll tell you how I did almost get knocked out once. My first fight, actually, I overdone. I tend to get injured a lot. That's my other thing. Like, my body thinks it can go harder than my joints know they can. So, like, I was training so hard. I was a lawyer at the time still. So I was getting up, I was running in the morning, 20 minutes, coming into work with a bag, changing, sneaking out. As a New York lawyer, you're supposed to be there till like 10. I was sneaking out to go spar and stuff at 7. In the middle of the day, I would put my gym clothes in one of those brown folders. So it looked like I was off to a meeting with like black running shoes. And I would come back sweaty, but that just meant I was working hard, right? So eventually I was overworking myself, and throwing a hook, I partially tore a rotor cuff. I went to a sports doctor down there. The nice thing about New York was, like, at a firm like that, you have really good insurance, so I could go see any doctor without paying. Went to a guy, he's like, you can't fight. You've a torn rotor cuff, partially torn. I said, okay. And then I want a second opinion. So I went to see a guy that works with the Jets a lot, and he was like, yeah, sure, you can fight. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, you're just going to tear it, and then you need surgery.
You know that, right? Up until this year, we sucked.
Yeah, no, sure, you can keep fighting. Have you thought about playing football? We have a couple openings.
I was just like, but I'm a lawyer. Like, my calculation is not fight and then go get surgery right away. But then, luckily I had a friend down there, Randy Newsom, who used to play pro baseball, and he was working with me at the firm, and he was really good. He's now very, very talented jiu-jitsu guy and MMA fighter. But he decided, he took me to his gym. He said, let's just move around. And he was like, your feet, you can move as a southpaw, even though I'm right-handed. He's like, your feet can do it. So theoretically, you can fight just holding this hand up and like pretending it works, and just fight with one hand.
Good job, Rocky. All right, yeah, no, that seems safe.
But you know what? Because I was able to cut so much weight, I got to fight a guy much shorter than me, and it worked. If you fight a right-handed guy, essentially every time they jab, you just parry and counter jab, you parry and counter hook, you parry and hook off them. And eventually, you can kind of start to get him nervous enough that he drops something, and you start really hitting him. And then every now and then you throw this just as like oops, it works, but it doesn't, you know? But because he was shorter than me, long story long here, my arms aren't very long. So I'm up here blocking. And at one point, he was a short, really powerful guy. He hit me in the ribs, and I swear to God, my whole life stopped for a second. I was like, everything just went, yeah, that's a break or something.
I'm dying.
That's not good. And then I don't know what happened. I think I tied him up, and we went on to the third round, and I just won it on points. But I was like, wow, that getting hit in the ribs is so much worse than getting hit in the face, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that those bones are over all those organs. You know, they're not meant to be those things that happen. But that kind of, you know, and I got my buddy Eric. I know he meant Jets, not Nets. Have the worst record in NFL ever. You're so absolutely correct. But I think.
Listen. The guy's still a good doctor, though. I don't know. Maybe not.
Not after that. Torn rotator cuff.
What's concussion protocol? You'll be fine. It's like asking Tua to spell his name.
Yeah.
That's his first name.
Here's the fun part of the story, though. If my mom's still here, the only reason my footwork worked both ways easily, and I'll tell you this, I was always embarrassed to admit this, but when I was a kid, I grew up with one older sister. I only grew up with one of them. I have other siblings that I love, but we didn't live together. And she took ballet, so I wanted to take ballet. So my mom put me in ballet. And I was told by my coach, like, the only reason your feet can do this is because you had ballet as a kid. It gives you a lot of coordination.
You know how many professional athletes do ballet, do dance, do anything? It's such a good way to get agile, to get that footwork. Everyone makes fun of it until they juke you out of your freaking shoes, and then no one wants
there's my sister. She just tuned in. Who took ballet? There you go. Hi, Nicole.
Your sister. I was about to say, is that your sister right there, Nicole?
She was a good ballerina.
Bankston. Nicole, I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm sure all the names. And then
Bankson. Yeah.
And then mom just jumped in with, she was so happy. And then ballet was awesome. You were so good. So this kind of like, so how do you go from, and I don't know where all the tiers between the gym and the Krav, was it the gym or the Krav first?
Oh, the gym. I was living down in Brooklyn at the time, and I motorcycled everywhere. And there was this really cool restaurant nearby that was like, they have these really cool like flat iron, a lot like, about the flat iron in New York. There's a lot of these little flat iron buildings all over Brooklyn, and this really cool Israeli brother and sister took over this space, made this beautiful restaurant, and he was really into bikes. So I'd bike up, we'd talk, we'd eat. And they were a part of this Krav Maga Academy, and she kept trying to get me to go when I was competing boxing. And I was like, boxing's a sport. I've done Taekwondo, I've done karate, I've done jujitsu, I've done all that when I was a kid. This is more the competition to me. This is not about self-defense as much. Like, I had all my girlfriends would be like, "Oh, you box?" My female friends, I should say, would be, and they'd be like, "Oh, can you show me a box?" And I'd always be like, "Why do you want to box?" And they'd be like, "Just for self-defense." I'm like, boxing is meant to pit two guys that are the exact same size, or two women that are the exact same size against each other. You're going to get attacked by a guy 3 times your size and throw a jab, and you shouldn't feel safe about that. Take self-defense.
Go to that self-defense class that teaches you how to eye gouge and take someone down. That's 30. Yeah, exactly.
One of the first things we did. Sorry, I just want to pick up on that.
Go.
We went to Victoria's Secret, me and my boss Matam, and one of the other instructors, to do a seminar for any employees that wanted to take. And that's one of the first things they do. They take out a carafe, they put a grape in, and they make people smash the grape. And they're like, that's what it feels like to smash an eyeball. You got to be okay with that feeling. If you're being attacked, if your life's in danger, if you're about to be raped, be okay with that feeling. Like, learn how that feels and make sure you complete that. I was like, Krav Maga is whoa.
Yeah, it's huge. Sean, did you do I don't remember when you got out, but McMap, one of the first things. So when we did the Marine Corps martial arts program,
I'm better than McMap. I'm line training, bitch.
But one of the first things they teach you is an eye gouge, and people are like, "Oh, like that's hilarious." I'm like, no, like the Marine Corps martial arts isn't to like train you in martial arts. It's to train you if you're face to face in a combat situation, do anything to get out of the situation.
Yeah. See, you know that Muhammad Ali poster everyone loves, where he's standing over the guy looking like a. That's exactly the opposite of martial arts. It's so disgusting and gritty, and you're on the person the entire time, scratching and screaming, and then you're running away. That's like what self-defense is, It's very
Absolutely. Different. And Nicole, we'll get to your question here in a second, but I was just saying when Dibbs was talking about McMap training, and the Marine Corps did a great job with that, but I originally learned, which I think is very similar, and I want you to explain to folks what Krav Maga is, but the line training we used to do, which was the early martial arts for the military, stood for linear inverted neurological override. It just basically meant your first 3 moves were either an eye gouge, a throat punch, or a groin hit, causing someone's natural neurological override to throw to their hands, throat, or groin. And when they did that, you then took that limb, you broke it, you stuffed it back in, you pulled it back out, you then ended it with the same 2 moves, which was a heel strike to the Achilles and then a heel strike to the temple. All of our moves back then were kill moves. That's all we learned in hand-to-hand combat. Now it's subdue and, mixed martial art, which is great, but listen to me, folks.
But Sean, if you were learning that in the context when you were in the Marines still.
Yes.
Well, yeah, of course. You don't want to subdue a guy and make him say uncle.
So they do, as it evolved, it did become, so I went through a couple. Yeah, and I was a brown belt. And once you get to like green and brown, you actually do start. And I had my Marines. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna run 3 miles." I'm like, "No, you're gonna roll for 10 minutes." I'm like, "Oh, just 10 minutes?" Yeah, no, go ahead and roll for 10 minutes and tell me how dead you feel afterwards. And it was a huge thing. And that's where you got like tan and all that stuff was just basic stuff. But once you got into green and brown, you really started getting into jujitsu and a lot more of the rolling, which is good to know.
So what is so I know folks are hearing us, and you mentioned there was an Israeli family that took over in the Flatiron building. But what is Krav Maga?
So yeah,
Maga is not the right way you say that, folks. It's Maga.
Maga, yeah. So they were members of this gym that was run by a guy named Matan Gavish. It's still around. He's actually expanded to other very cool things. You should look him up online. It was called the Krav Maga Academy at the time. I think he still has that as an active website, but he's moved on to something called Fit Hit now, which is kind of cool because they work with dummies a bit more. And it's almost like think like Soul Cycle, but like ripping a dummy's head off and stuff.
Nice.
Take the dummy soul.
Yeah. But basically, I came in, I did a class. He took me aside after. He said, "Listen, I saw how you moved and stuff, and because with the boxing combined with Taekwondo, that makes for pretty good versatility. I had some jits, but not enough because when I was 16, I was rolling with a guy that was 3 times my size, and when he threw me, I rolled and I got back on top of him right away because I was fast. But then we got up against the wall, so he threw me and I ended up upside down. So it's like my body slammed and just went straight down on the collarbone." And it cracked. And then my sensei at the time came over. I'm sorry, that's not my phone, is it?
No, Bets. I have no way to take that ding out.
Sorry. No. As long as it's not me. Anyway, it was cracked. And my sensei took his big hands. He's like, "I think it's a dislocated shoulder." So he pushed it back and he broke the bone clean in half. Oh. And that was the most painful one moment. Like, I think a dislocated shoulder is more painful for longer, but that was the most painful, like, one moment. And then getting the gi off to go to the hospital, that was like, so I didn't really ever come back. I tried to come back to jiu-jitsu, but I didn't fully come back from that. So that was a big one for me to have to learn again. But from a fitness perspective, they say boxing is one of the highest caloric burn you'll do in like a 10-minute period. And it's not that you're moving that. If you're a great boxer, if you watch as much as you might not like the guy Mayweather, if you watch him, he's moving this much, he's moving this much and counterpunching this much, one step back. It's the adrenaline mixed with that, it's the adrenaline mixed with that. And then with jits, it's the adrenaline mixed with that plus constant pressure of another man's body on your body. You can never let go of like holds and stuff. It's tough. Like, they say jits is the highest caloric burn you can do, basically.
Like, I don't care what nobody says. I can still remember watching a Mayweather fight. You guys may have watched it. It was like just before the Super Bowl. Like, it was like the Saturday before the Super Bowl or the Friday. And he's boxing some guy, and Jim Nance is on the side, and or I think it was Jim Nance, whatever the one that always does about. And they're like, he's wearing this guy out, and he's like, "Well, Super Bowl's this weekend. Wonder who's gonna." And Mayweather looks over and goes, "Patriots." And he punched some guy, and they were like, "What do you think the score is going to be?" And he threw a score out while he was whooping some dude's ass. And then they finally went, "We probably should stop having this conversation."
Promoting another sport during our sport.
That's what I always say about the guys. Like, hate him. I hate the guy as a person. From anything I've heard of anything that's true, he's the worst guy in the world. But listen, and people hate him because he didn't go after it. Let's say with the Pacquiao fight, like, "Oh, you make it fun and exciting." But I'm like, when you're that good as a boxer, why would you put yourself out there to maybe get knocked out when you only have to do this to win? Yeah. Boom, counterpunch, boom, counterpunch, boom. If you know that you're definitely going to win, it doesn't make any sense to do more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Such a beast. Like, I can't get over how much of a beast he is. And that's why I say
he has a great Instagram post up just recently, actually, about he's back to doing some pad work, and he's like, "Guys, with all this stupid pad work, there's no such thing as a 20 combination punch. Go back to basics. Boom, jab, double jab, cross, hook, boom, jab, double jab, cross, hook." And he's like, "That's boxing. This is Instagram. That's boxing." It's like, I love that.
And your sister wants to know, she's in her 40s and doing Taekwondo. Any sparring advice? She's a little scared there. Anything you got for her?
She's scared. You should see my sister. They should be scared of her. She's my size. She can throw a roundhouse kick. We used to fight, man. We were both doing Taekwondo. She'd throw a roundhouse kick, practically break me in half. Nicole, I wouldn't be scared. You'll be fine.
You'll be good, Nicole. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
But I mean, that does bring up a decent question. Like, especially, we just had a jiu-jitsu gym open where I live, which is unheard of. And I've thought about getting back into it, but with
Bow to your sensei.
With breaking the entire right side of.
We lost Dibs. And just like that, the squirrels where Dibs.
Okay, let's guess. The right side of
breaking the right side of your face. I don't know. See, so Dibs, where he's at in Michigan, he has a lot.
There we go. The squirrel died.
The squirrel.
I'm back.
He's back. Look at that.
I'm back. No, just I mean, it's one of those things where I am after breaking my entire right side.
And look, and he still broke his right side again.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. It is worrisome to. It is worrisome to kind of get back into it. Like I want to do it, but at the same time, like in your older age, I feel like it's intimidating, especially to go to a gym where there are younger people training, like guys that are training for MMA fights and stuff. Is there any advice to kind of overcome that?
When I was teaching the Krav Maga, truthfully, it was funny because like it was kind of weird. I was like, I didn't like, basically Matan put me on an accelerated program. So he got me to the point where, and to finish your question from long ago, I'm sorry, Krav Maga is basically what they teach special forces in Israel. And it's for hand-to-hand combat, but then it gets a little bit higher into hand to knife, hand to gun. To become certified to teach level 1, you teach just hand to hand. You don't really get into the hand to knife, hand to gun, because that's complicated stuff. But so for me, I went through a very accelerated crash course to be certified to literally, you're certified to teach Israeli soldiers. And he was a sergeant, I believe, in the military army, or in the Israeli military.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
He moved to New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he was, I would not mess around with this guy. Basically, it was weird. Then all of a sudden, I'm teaching these classes, and I'm teaching because part of the class was get you like crazy high on adrenaline and crazy high, like just crazy tired, and then teach you technique, and then have them go out of it a bit, because in a fight, your adrenaline is going to go nuts, and if you're not used to that, you're going to go nuts. So I would be teaching like some cops from Jersey how to do better takedowns and better holds and shit like that. Like, and that was not the strike and kill and go stuff, obviously, but they'd be there for that because they're like, our training just felt insufficient. And then, so it's kind of like, to me, I'm like, I'm just some kid in New York who's actually here illegally. I'm making cash, basically, like teaching some cop from Jersey how to do that. And these are older guys that got into it. My biggest advice, I'm 38 now, but I feel like I've worn my body out so much over my 38 years that I think my joints are a little bit older than that. I remember grappling and just learning basics. Like, one of the best things you can do grappling is just ball up and get your elbows tight to your thighs, and then not let a guy in, and then they get real tired trying to get in, and then you attack with jiu-jitsu. And I was great at that. You have strong abs, you're good, you have good hip flexors, boom, the guy's spinning me around trying to get in, there's no way. And eventually he spins me and my ankle just pulls too much, and I'm like, yeah, see, when I was 18, that wouldn't have hurt. I would have been made of rubber. It would have been fine. That's not an injury. When you're 30, as you get older, those are now injuries. So it's hard to say, but like the older you get, the biggest thing is do things to stay limber, like stretch, make sure you're stretching way more than you're working out. Make sure your cardio levels stay up, because that'll be one thing that really gets you. And your food, like make sure you're taking fish oils and all that stuff. I'm not a nutritionist, my wife is, but there's all this stuff that you need to be taking, like take collagen, take all that stuff that's going to make your joints. Your joints is going to be what kills you first. Your muscles stay forever. Your joints are going to go.
So how many years were you training this?
Oh boy. So I was associate with a firm for 3 years. I got into the Krav Maga place, and then I got into Barry's. I was doing both at the same time. So it's funny. I was like going to teach like these very like fitness classes, and there's like all these like model. It's like just a room full of model girls running and stuff. And then I'm going to teach this like crazy aggressive.
As long as you don't pull a what the hell movie was that? The other guys where like he works Bed Bath and Beyond and works as a chief of police. As long as you're not teaching these model.
I tell you, dude, there were some days, man. I was so scared, like financially, when I left the firm, that I was just like, I would take any shift. I was working at the bar at night. I was working the Krav Maga. I was working the bar, the Berries. I was taking any class. Like I would have probably done that. I probably did walk in and almost hit a guy in the wrong place or something. So I guess I was saying
hi, go Chris. Look at that, Karina V. I don't know who that is, but
oh man, an admirer. No, that's my wife. You met her earlier.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, now Sean's that guy. Well, all right. Just never be in the same room as Chris, and you're good, Sean.
She heard the model comment about Barry. She jumped on it.
So I'm really kind of curious how that, so you're doing these back and forth, and you said now you're a part owner in Barry's. Did I understand that right?
I'm very blessed that the two owners here, David and Lori, when we met, I was at about the 3-year mark working there, and my best friend had just passed away. I was trying to make the transition back to kind of be here, and then he had passed away. But it kind of, as I went back and forth on my motorcycle a lot more when he was going through his chemo and stuff, and it made me realize like I'd like to be back in Toronto. Toronto was this really cool new city. It was not the same city I left, and New York is kind of a finished. I mean, you guys know, like, man, I was living in the East Village. It's like New York is finished. Unless you're a Rockefeller, you're not going to change that city very much. Toronto, it's like young people I knew were doing cool things, and I was like, I want to be back. So it was just the right timing, and they were great. We got along so well, their family, and they said, listen, if you come help us start this thing, be part of leadership, and be like a chief instructor down here, then we'll make you an equity partner in it. And I didn't have any money to give, obviously. It was just my sweat, and they've been so wonderful. We've been at it for 5 years now, and it's like, it's family. It's not a job, it's like family. Like,
sweat equity is a hell of a thing.
Hell yeah.
If you're willing to sweat for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Kristen wants to know, she says, I love your advice as you get older. High level of cardio is so important. That will help you with keeping up and enjoying life. I love skiing and have found how helpful my cardio workouts have been.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I agree with that. So talking about Barry's, and that's, that's what's paying the bills now. That's what you're into, and they're expanding. Kristen did ask earlier, she wants one in Orange County where she's at. So let somebody know.
You know what? Somebody else just asked me about Barry's in Orange County. I'll ask him. Ask him. It seems like it's a good market for it.
That's right? A huge market. I feel like that'd be a huge market for something. I mean,
yeah, that's
like talking about Hollywood and stuff. Like, I mean, Orange County's right down the road and almost the same.
Yeah, there's a couple. So there's West Hollywood. There's the more downtown Hollywood location. Then there's a couple there actually. There's Venice.
Find them. Yeah. Go find it and then send us pictures. Yeah. But now. What made, so I know you kind of said like this, the guy who started it was, he was into that, club scene, was a big dude, worked out, did all those kind of things and created this. But what makes the Barry's, like the process or what you're doing different than, hey, why would I go to Barry's if I could just go down to, like, we have Zoom Fit, or not Zoom, but can't think of the name of the fitness place around here.
Zumba?
No, it's not Zumba. It's a gym called like View or something like that there that's in my area now. But what makes it different than going to a local gym and just going to one of their classes that maybe isn't a hot, sweaty ass room?
It's the people. Honestly, man, like the people that we put together in this company. When I first walked in, I didn't know anyone. I'd never taken a studio fitness class. When the guy met me in a bar, he said, You're fit. We need to hire right now in New York. We're expanding. Come down, check it out. And it was like this huge thing that just happened to me, but it was the people I fell in love with, man. It's such an amazing community. The clients, the people that work there, like, we choose people that are like us. We have these kind of core values of people that we like. We say, work out hard and be kind. And those are the only kind of people we accept in the gym. And beyond that, the product is I think an extension of the people we choose. We only take the best instructors in any city we are. And every time we land in a new city, every instructor from every other gym wants to come work for us. Everybody auditions, and we can only take a certain amount, and we only take the people that we know are part of our community already, basically. Then the product that they give, to answer your question on the mechanical side, why don't I just go do 8 by 3 sets of bicep curls on my own?
Right.
What I hear again and again, it's such an immersive experience. So you walk into this place, this incredibly sexy place with red lights and 25 treadmills and 25 floor spots with weights. And you have one instructor. Imagine a cycle instructor that was competent enough. No, I'm just kidding. I love cycle instructors. But you got to teach 2 classes at once.
Let's go up the mountain. Come on,
yeah,
bitches.
That's another thing we try. We're like, okay, I don't want to hear any like bullshit pre-canned motivation. You're going to say something to somebody, say something because you mean it. And that's what I believe on the microphone. But you teaching 2 classes at once and everybody's moving together. And all of a sudden there's just this swell. And the special thing about Barry, the music's going, the lights, and all these people are around you. And there's just all of a sudden this moment where your heart just feels bigger. And if you don't achieve that in a class, you shouldn't, the instructor should be fired. Every single class you go to, Barry, you'll feel that. And you're going to run faster than you ever run. You're going to do more lifting than you've ever done. Everybody tells me, and I'm the same. I never ran more than like 8 miles an hour. All of a sudden, I'm running 20 miles an hour on a wood weight treadmill just because this guy's screaming at me, and I love what I'm hearing, and I feel the energy. It's the energy, just the people and the energy. That's it.
So there is one in Long Beach, which is like 40 minutes from Orange County. So if she wants to make the voyage from Orange County, she can go and check it out in Long Beach.
What's 40 minutes in LA? That's only like 3 hours in traffic.
Well, right? So it's 40 minutes when I just looked up the directions. And part of that is this huge strip going down that's just bright red with all the beautiful traffic in Southern California.
Right.
California, like of all, there's 3 worst traffic cities. Where I grew up in Baltimore is just insanity traffic. That's where my son and I recently were there, and a guy in a box truck tried to cut me off, shove me into another car, and I was like, I went back to being from Baltimore at that moment, and the dude's like yelling out his window, "I'll effing shoot you!" I'm like, "Bring it on, asshole!" And my son's like, "What's going on here, Dad?" I'm like, "Shut up. We're back in Baltimore. We're fine." But LA is the only place I've ever seen where like bumper to bumper traffic is at 60 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
And then Atlanta is the only place I've ever been that at 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday, you can be in bumper to bumper traffic going nowhere. There's no reason for it in Atlanta. Like you're like, why is this traffic so bad? I have no idea. It's 2:00 in the morning, bumper to bumper insanity. But I am going to have to tell you, Toronto is on my bucket list of cities I want to go to. I used to work for Amtrak, so our trains 63 and 64 go right into Toronto, right down here to Albany. So there's no reason if you make it down this way, Chris, you couldn't come hang out with us.
Wait, the train? I thought the train goes around now again. Did that just start up again?
Yeah, probably 63 and 64 started running because I have buddies that are still working over there. I don't work there anymore. Probably about 2 months ago now. And the one to Montreal.
I just heard about this. Yeah. Okay.
Montreal when 68, 69 just opened back up. But yeah, and the train used to head up into Toronto. And I'm a comic book guy. You guys have like one of the world's best comic book stores in the Silver Snail up there.
The Silver Snail, that's an institution, man. I grew up the street from there. Yeah.
Did you dude, you got to tell me about it. Like, I know this is completely left turn. This is a complete left turn right now. I want to go to the Silver Snail so bad. I've heard so great things about it.
So I wasn't as big of a comic book guy, but we have some places like the Silver Snail in Toronto, like Steve's Music, that are just like a guitar store is down the street from there, and it's like these places that are just such institutions that you're like most of the like. Whenever I've been in the Silver Snail with friends, it's just kids looking at stuff. Nobody's really buying a lot. I'm like, how do these places stay in business? But they're just such institutions that they'll be around forever. It's great. I mean, I'm sure they make enough sales somehow online or something.
Now, how does that? Now, you kind of mentioned that with Barry's and we're talking about that. And look, folks, if you want to reach out, and we got so into this conversation, I forgot to start running this. If you want to reach out to Chris and you want to contact him, probably the best way to find him is his Instagram, which you got to love this. It's @the_cuddly Canadian. I love it. Oh, so cute. It's @the_cuddly Canadian. Make sure you go give him a follow. Everybody who's listening to this, give him a follow, help his Instagram grow, help this grow. As we always say around here, we got to grow the community, and it starts with us. We do this for each other. But how important was that? And I know you said, coming back to Toronto was about coming back to a city that was young, it was growing. And I've heard it's also an amazingly clean city. Like for being a major city, it's like crazy clean for a major city.
I used to say I would sooner eat off of a subway platform in Toronto than sit on a subway platform in New York.
Seems appropriate.
It really does. It seems safer in a lot of ways.
It was like I thought it was dirty till I went to other cities, and I was like, okay, it's pretty clean. Yeah.
And that's what they say. So how much does that? Because listening to what Barry's is, it sounds like it's kind of fit for that mid to late 20s, early 30s kind of a crowd. Not saying that any of us couldn't go there, but it's got that kind of a vibe. How important was that vibe to the success you've had so far in a place like Toronto?
Yeah, it's funny. It's when you look at like the heat maps of people that use it, demographics. We have very different. And my mom says, my mother lives in Toronto. That's also why I'm here.
That's important.
Thanks, Ma. It was funny. When we first opened the downtown location, we were shocked that like it was crazy. Our average age was so young. It was like early 20s or something like that. But as we grew, we still have like 21-year-olds that come, but we also have like, I had a woman that's like 70 in class on Saturday, and she loves it. She loves the vibe. She gets into it. It's like it's such a big range. And then with the neighborhoods, we differ a little bit. We have a couple of locations in Toronto. So it'll be like the one that's a bit further north has a slightly older crowd, slightly younger crowd, of course, further south, because that's where everyone has their first apartment and stuff like that. But it's really just a workout built for just everyone to have a good time. Like our big thing is we kind of like, we had this like sexy brand. So some people are a little bit intimidated to come sometimes. We're like, they come, they're like, we felt so welcome. Like nobody feels excluded there. It's just that's what we really pride ourselves on. Just this inclusion in the community.
Yeah. And I think that's huge, especially looking at the fitness world. And I know a lot of gyms are trying to do that, but so many times, like you go, even when I was in the military, like trying to go into a civilian gym, and it's just like, nope. Just like you were talking about, that vibe just isn't there. Like, nope. I feel like if I'm not taking 35 selfies of myself while trying to film myself working out, like, yeah, it's cool. And I know that I've seen a lot of that, like HIIT stuff. Like I was doing a lot of high intensity stuff.
Do you have a selfie station? Do you have a selfie station inside of the? I need to know that now, Chris.
We actually don't. You know what? Excellent. When we opened, we did. For our opening party, we did. We don't have it anymore.
You don't have that, like as you're working out. No, like everybody doesn't get a selfie stick. Like
we encourage them to do it in the, like there's a sticker in the bathroom afterward if they want to say, I just sweat. Take it there. You don't have to do it in the room. But
I feel
pictures I love. People that want to take the picture, take the picture. People that just want to work. I have some I have some animal people that they come in there and sprint at like 15 miles an hour on a 15% incline. They just want to work. They want to put their head down for an hour, shut their brain off. Then they go to work and they have to go,
Well, that's looking at the picture of your gym. Like I pulled up the Long Beach one. I'm like, oh my sweet mother of Jesus. Like it's literally just treadmills and then the blocks to step on. Like that, like you were saying, I feel like there wouldn't be time to take a picture because you'd be so you'd just be so dialed in. Yeah, exactly. Nicole, it was intense.
What we did is we kept it simple though. There's all these gyms that are like, we're gonna model our whole idea off of this machine that was just this concept that just came out 3 months ago. And it's like, well, what kind of longevity is that going to have when that fad piece of machinery is not so popular anymore? Like running is always going to be running. Lifting is always going to be lifting. Don't make it complicated. Just come on in, work out, have some fun.
So give some advice to folks that are out there, who maybe, were workout people before, lost that motivation. One of the things, and Dibs and I know both have experienced this, prior service folks, we go through, there's only two types of us. There's either the person who got out and now spends every moment in a gym trying to relive that and be like, I did this. I need to stay completely ready for combat at all times. There's that guy, or there's, those of us who, because of injuries or whatever the situation is, I retired I have no problem in a minute. I retired. I was at my heaviest at 175 at it when I retired. I'm 210, out the shower, and that's a huge difference.
We're pretty similar now.
I mean, and you're talking to a guy at one point in time, probably at my best, 165, 19 dead hang pull-ups, 100 crunches in 2 minutes, and running 24-minute 3 mile. I was doing okay.
Wow.
And look, that 3 mile, I was slow. I was a slow 3 miler.
17:58 is my fast.
Did you really run a sub 18? Are you
when I got back from my rack the first time, for the first 3 months when I got back, all I had was a BMX bike to ride 4 miles, and I went and ran it in like a 17:58, 59.
Dude, I've never seen My fastest ever 21:33. Fastest ever 21:33.
I think I just did we work with Michelob Ultra, which is great, and we just did like a night run with them, which was I think 5K. I don't remember, my time was around 20 or something, but
that's great, dude. That's sub 18.
That's a 3 mile. Yeah, that's.
But my problem is like I was wearing those Nike Boost shoes. So, and I just felt like, the ones with a big heel and they just kind of springy. I was like, I don't think I was really running that fast. I was just being pushed.
Well, that's great. I love that shit. I'm so that guy. I was the guy who went through shoes every 6 months. I really got into it. But so what's some of the advice that you could give, and I'm not looking for the motivational thing, but that person who's either thinks they're too old or they can't get back into it, or they're past their prime with this. What's some of the advice you would give them?
To me, what you described, like with you getting out of the service, and there's certain kind of guys that are always there. They're talking about being combat ready. I question if those guys really, if the purpose for them is like, I need to be ready for war tomorrow, or maybe they just got a little bit hooked on the adrenaline rush of what they're doing. And we all, I think, are like that. Like you guys are in, you guys have been in combat jobs, and you've been in competitive sports, which are all very physical, fighting, all that stuff. You kind of get hooked on that adrenaline. It's a pretty strong drug, and that's one thing I with my job I love, is that it was one of the few. Do you guys remember your first fight?
Yes.
When I went my first fight, the first time I had to like go to another gym to spar a guy. So you're out of your element and all that. I remember I was doing great. I came in, I was like, this is amazing. I'm doing great. And then all of a sudden, halfway through, I think the second round, my knees got really weak. And I almost just felt like I couldn't stand. I was like, what is happening? And I look at my coach in the corner, I'm like, why am I wobbly? And they explained it later, like we didn't get all riled up beforehand. Like the way adrenaline works is it grows, and then it spikes, and then it drops, and then it starts to grow slowly again. So all of a sudden I felt like I was getting, it's a weird, like the adrenaline curve. It's like, so basically like you're supposed to get riled up before you get into the ring. So you get that spike, you get wobbly legs, then you walk to the ring, and all of a sudden it's just up, right? So after a while, I'm on the ropes getting hit, and all of a sudden my legs came back, and it worked out fine. But there's something about adrenaline that it's such an amazing feeling. And I remember until I went to one of the various classes, I hadn't had anything close to that adrenaline rush, like pushing myself to that point of like, I might pass out. I might literally just drop. So I think guys get addicted to that. I think like, especially like the really hardcore.
I'm so confused. So Dibs has got the picture up, and I love Dibs because I'm not a multifunctional person. Like
you're amazing.
This is it. Dibs goes and looks at stuff and then says, Murph, this is what you should probably be looking at. I'm here. But
what are we looking at, Dibs?
Don't ask that. I'm waiting for somebody to kick the door, and don't ask that question. But where is the adrenaline? Like it's a gym. I've worked out for most of my life. Where is that adrenaline rush in this company?
If I was going to go to the gym on my own, I'd maybe go like 7 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour, 10 miles. That's my hit, maybe on a treadmill. All of a sudden I get a guy yelling at me, or whether it's like yelling at me or motivating me, or the people next to me starting to go, then all of a sudden I'm running at 14 miles an hour for that 30-second sprint. And then I'm asked to try that for 45. And I'm never asked to do something I can't do. I'm just asked to push myself to my own limit. That's something that's really hard for ourselves to do. That's why people come to these classes, honestly. Like the big answer to why you do this versus a big box gym is it's very, very hard to actually push yourself to your own personal capacity, your own personal capabilities. When you have somebody help you do that, that's when all of a sudden you get to this point of like, people are burning 1,000 calories an hour. I've had people first timers, I don't want to scare people off, but I've had first timers, they got so motivated, they had to leave to puke. Then they came back in, they're like, this is too fun. I come back in. Like, when are you going to do that to yourself at the gym? You know what I mean? It's hard. Maybe some guys can't, but.
And I think you made the point too, because you called it a big family, and looking at like how it's laid out, I feel like after you go so many times, like you're going to get the people that try it once or whatever, but then you are going to get that people. And I think it kind of goes back to what Sean was talking about with the military getting out, but and going to the gym, it becomes part of a family thing too. Like you have to have that link. And I feel like if you're pushing yourself harder, you're going to push that person next to you harder, and it's just going to kind of escalate. And that's what that gym looks like. That's what the Barry's, when I just looked it up for the Long Beach, that's what it looks like. And I think that's I'm a very big adrenaline person. I'm a skydiver. I'm a base jumper. It's like very, very big into adrenaline. And I get that. Like I'd do 10, 15 jumps a day, and people are like, oh, why are you tired? You were just falling. I'm like, oh no, peak your adrenaline, drop it, peak it, drop it, and tell me you're not dead.
Not me.
Day? Yeah.
So yeah, no, so I think that's a big part of it. I love what you're doing, like with that fan. And do you see that a lot? I mean, you mentioned that you and
we have people like I seen people come in, didn't know each other, and there's just this camaraderie that like now they come to the same classes, then they start coming together, they start going out after together. Now all of a sudden they're friends. They get a strong group of friendship that like it just grew at the gym. Like how often does that happen? You know, and that happens with us every hour of every day. It's cool, you know.
Yeah, see, that's really awesome because I think competition breeds. Competition breeds some pretty amazing things.
So yeah, and they're competitive, but then they're also supportive of each other.
Absolutely.
The person next to you is like, I know you can do better. So I'll bump it up the person's treadmill next to them. You're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, see, I love that.
So we obviously, and the website for Barry's again is
www.barrys.com. But let me make sure that's the same as I'm gonna be Dibs now. I'm multitasking.
That's okay.
I can't believe you were able to do that so well, man. Like it's very clear when I'm looking at something else.
It is Barrys.com.
Yeah, Barrys.com, and then you can get all the different gyms. So let's say you're in Toronto, you pick Canada, boom, downtown Toronto, like uptown, whatever you want to do.
I mean, it's crazy. Like if you look at it, Sean, there's USA, Denmark, Italy, Qatar, Sweden, Australia, France, Mexico, Singapore, Dubai, UK, Spain, Norway, Germany, Canada. Like it's not a small thing. Like it's
you know what a good one to check out though? We got a great Instagram. Do the at Barry's Canada Instagram. You'll find everything you want. You'll find we're really on top of it. Our social media people are great.
Excellent. And classes, is it just an evening thing? Is it an all day thing? Like if
all day from 6 a.m. Some of the markets at 5 a.m. We have 6 a.m., 7, 9:30, 12:15. 4:20, 5:30, 6:30, 7:40. That's why I was running back from teaching to 6:30. And I'll tell you this, man. Here's a cool thing. At that 6:30, there's 57 people in my class tonight with a wait list. So people just wanting to get in. Can you just imagine the energy you're describing? A couple people next to you, multiply that times 60 people. Like it's just the whole room swells up at different points, and it's amazing what you see people do. People come in tired afterward. You have a bad day. Maybe you had a fight with your boyfriend. Whatever it is, you see all kinds of people, especially in the evening. You come in, it's harder to give them energy. And all of a sudden, these people are smiling and high-fiving each other, yelling at themselves in the mirror. It's just something that I can't take responsibility for. It's them. Like I just start the flame, and the fire takes off. It's a wonderful thing.
That's huge because it's just them. Like it's just them in the moment and nothing else. And I think that's where that adrenaline and euphoria comes from, where you don't have to worry about anything else other than what you're doing right then, right there, and who is in the immediate area with you.
We'll get a lot of when I started in New York, especially, we get a lot of type A business guys. I would teach them at 5 a.m., like bankers that have to be in the office for, I don't know, international trading hours. And you realize these guys, they have to be so alpha all day. They have to be so, they just wanted to shut their brain off and have somebody else tell them what to do for the hour and get a great workout. And what we did is like, we made a thing in 50 minutes. Okay, if you want to go compete in XYZ sport, you're going to have to do other things as well, of course. But if you only have 50 minutes to devote to being functionally strong, fast, and looking good, basically, if you want abs quickly, just come. Just shut your brain off, come, eat well, and you're fine. You know what I mean?
Well, now let's talk about the elephant in the room with all gyms. We all know this. We've all known someone, or maybe we were that person that bought the gym membership, did it once, never went back, or did it twice, or you like they're never going to be a sponsor of mine, so I'm okay with it. I'm not a fan of Planet Fitness. I do prefer the medieval gym, and that's because of an old boss of mine where like I'm completely, you have one treadmill, it barely works, and everything in here smells just like death and body, and there's chains on the floor. I'm completely okay with that place. That's how I learned to work out. That was the experience I had. The elephant in the room is, what is the cost? Do you guys have any of those? Like, hey, if you sign up, you're required to give your left kidney and your firstborn, and look, have a good time. Like what's the cost that something like this?
No, I'm just gonna start by saying I was the same. Like I grew up in basement, like rec center basement gyms. They're just damp, like wall sweat. There's no piece of equipment that matched. I recently had to train for something, and I went and trained with a good friend of mine. Played for the CFL. He was a running backer, Jimmy, and he hooked me up with his coach, who was amazing. Helped me do some functional training out in this like really old school gym like that. The difference is what I found with the market, the fitness market shifted. The old big box gym, they wanted you to pay them, and then they were hoping you didn't come.
Yep.
The less people came, the more money they made.
I just saw
the exact opposite model. You only pay for the hour you come from. You only pay for the hour you come from. If you want to buy like a package of classes, it'll make the price go down slightly. But in theory, you're not ever going to waste those classes. They're going to expire. You just whenever you come and use them, you come and use them. And that's it. It's a fixed price for fixed time, done. And what we found is people want to do a lot of different things. Some people want to go to Pilates once a week. Some people want to go to spinning once a week. Some people want to go do some kind of a boxing thing once a week. Then they want to come to Barry's once a week. Some people want to come to Barry's 7 days a week. We split our programs up so that it covers every different body parts, different days. So if you are a 7-day person, you can do it. Or you can come for the full body parts or just the lower body, upper body, whatever day it is, right? So what we found is that the market has just changed. People shop for fitness in the same way they shop for anything. You don't always go and buy the same, for me, it would be like chicken strips and beef patties and salad. I mean, actually I do, but most people buy
most people are variety, but fuck that.
Strips, salad and beef patties, but like, people want different things especially when you live in a very diverse city that's got a lot going on. Like, it's very cosmopolitan. You want to do different things. And so that it allows you to do it without being financially obligated to be like, oh man, I got to go back to the gym today because otherwise I don't get my money's worth. It's like, no, you go when you want. You don't go when you want. It's kind of easy that way.
And that's a great model. And that's, be honest, I think that's because of that old mentality has scared a lot of people off from it. Like, hey, why am I still paying for a gym membership? I don't go. I'm never going to go back. I don't give a shit. And they're like, well, cancel my card. I'm going to cancel my card and my bank account and move to another city just so you can't get this $25 a month.
It's no joke. It is no joke.
You're going to love this, guys. When I became a trainer originally in Toronto, I was working construction all most summers and stuff between school. And then I wanted like a summer I didn't, do something else. And I was always at the gym anyway. So I was like, okay. I was getting my personal training thing, and I went to this gym. It was horrible, sleazy guys. Took this a lot of space over called Extreme Fitness back in the day. He said 10 days free. And I was like, great. I'm going actually on vacation with my ex-girlfriend in New York after that. So 10 days and I'll just cancel it. That's really nice. I get to work out with my friend for 10 days. And then the 10-day mark comes. I say, listen, I'm rushing to get to the bus or whatever. Could I just do it on the phone? Like, you have to do it in person. I'm like, well, could I do it when I get back? Like, don't worry, you can do it when you get back. I get back, like, no, sorry, you have a year, you have 12 months is going to be taken out of your card now and all this stuff. And at the time I'd already been accepted to law school. And so I was like, I said to the guy, I got up to like the owner of that franchise. And he's like, well, listen, hey, what can I tell you? You got a great membership. And I was like, hey, what can I tell you? When I take you to small claims court, it's not about the time you're going to waste. It's about every single of the 22 employees that I've spoken to at your gym in the last 10 days. I'm going to subpoena them as witnesses. They're going to have to come down. You're going to have to pay them for a day of work when they're not at the gym. So let's have some fun for instead of 12 months. And then he goes, you said you're personal trainer? I said, yeah. He said, why don't you come work for me instead? I'll cancel membership. And I got a job working for this guy.
Get the fuck out of here. No.
He was sleazy as fuck, man. Like, I quit pretty soon after, but.
Please tell me you had a tracksuit on at all times, a velour tracksuit. Please tell me.
It was almost like that, like
Listen, I like how you talk. Come work for me. We'll just make this happen.
His name was Vinny.
In his mind, though, he's a smart businessman. He's like, I want to make money off this kid one way or the other. So let's try this way then.
No, we've had when I was working in the tower industry, like climbing cell phone towers, we've hired graffiti artists. Like, well, all right, you can obviously climb to tag our towers. Why not get paid more to climb and like do it legally? So you talked about it. You just mentioned the franchise. For the business, because Sean's had some really good entrepreneurs and all that stuff on his show. Can people franchise with Barry's? Like, how does that work? Or do you have to be chosen for a certain location? Or how does that work?
For the most part now, that's a bit above my pay grade. For the most part now, it's all owned by one corporate entity, because we really wanted to. We had a new private equity group buy us a long time ago, and we really sort of shored things up. And we wanted, anywhere you go in the world, you get the same level of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not huge into the franchise game anymore, unless you're outside of North America. And then that makes sense to do, because it's a little too hard to run it from like a corporate headquarters in LA. But for the most part, no, any bears you go to, you're going to get, it's pretty much like, it's just a part of the family. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. We're going to get ready to close the bar up here. So classes 7 days a week, berries.com for the website. Are you still doing any Krav Maga training with people, or is that?
I feel bad. It's been a while. There was a friend of mine that she was going through some family stuff, and she just felt insecure. So we started training a little bit a little while ago. But anytime a friend asks or something like that, we can do it. But you
keep up for yourself more so now.
You know what? I try to just stay fit and ready. And now I'm honestly like 200 pounds now. I don't think anybody's gonna mess with me anymore.
You'll do all right. It's amazing.
Yeah, I saw that impromptu flex when he was telling us how to talk. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to stop doing that. I feel like I should go cry. And
plus, my wife was a kickboxing instructor, so I'm fine. She protects me now. I don't need to do it.
Who was the one? God, the bow tie. What the hell was that one?
Oh,
Tybo.
Billy Blanks.
Tybo. Let's get at it, guys. Let's go. I loved him. Those infomercials were amazing. God, that, and then the gazelle. You need to get a gazelle. That was.
I did Insanity, man. I did a full round of.
Did you do Insanity?
It kicked my ass when I was.
You guys ever tried back in the day P90X? You remember that one?
Yeah,
I didn't do it. I had a guy that I worked with, another Marine that did P90X. Never lifted a weight, never ran. Just would come into the gym. Where our command was, we had a TV with a DVD player. He would put the P90X DVDs on, and he was a 300 PFT, and never just doing those videos because it was so intense. I was like, dude,
honestly, the guy, it was a good program. I tried. I just my apartments were always too small to really do it, because there was a lot of jumping back and forth.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of room and have people underneath you if you're doing P90X or Insanity.
Yeah, and folks, look, if you're looking to reach out to Chris and you want to know, where he's going to be at, or you want to find out about his private OnlyFans, what he calls training and working out.
I keep waiting for his wife's name to pop back up there.
Hey, it's just going to pop up in a minute and go, hey, mother, and then ...
She just cuts the power to the house.
The only people that have ever asked me to start an OnlyFans are my gay buddies. I don't think any woman in the world wants to see.
Well, Sean's in that category.
I have a lot of gay friends, and maybe some of them saw your picture and were like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Dude, you're in your 60s. I don't think that was you." But these things happen. These things happen, and trust me, I've already shared this podcast to a few gay Facebook pages.
I thought you were going to say to OnlyFans.
Nope. But
I don't know how it works.
Once your OnlyFans starts, I need a cut of the money, because that was my idea.
I feel like I'd have to shave more parts of my body.
Just call you an otter or a bear.
It's cool. Okay. It's not like his mom and his sister and everyone. No, you're good.
You're good.
Guys, my mom said. Dude, she's gonna text me right after this. What's an OnlyFans?
I was just gonna say she's Googling right now what is Only. Don't do it, Mom. Just stop.
Don't do it. Oh God, it's so great. But so look, you can find Chris at the _cuddly Canadian on Instagram. You can, if you have workout questions, you have fitness questions, maybe you're traveling around and you're going to be in the Toronto area and you want to know about one of these Barry's classes, you can reach out to him, see what they've got going on. I love your mom already. She's just sending laughy. I love it. She's the best already. Anytime I have somebody on and their mom's listening, it's the best, because moms are like, we all want to be like, not my mom. She's amazing. And then moms are like, ha, you don't have a clue. I know everything. So make sure. You already said she's better at Facebook than you, so
it's true, yeah.
So
she better not have an OnlyFans.
Oh God, that
Jesus. Well, it's about, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this off and head out.
All right, can we? We'll edit that part. We'll edit that part.
There's no editing, kid. We're live.
There's no editing. This is live. Nicole, let's see what your thoughts are on that. Mom's got an OnlyFans. Let's see here. I couldn't figure out how all these cruises were happening. That's so great. I love it. And folks, there was like very little alcohol involved in this show. See, the adrenaline's already pumped.
I'm on sober November.
I know. I've heard of sober October. And I'm telling you, I've heard of sober October, and then there's no shave November, and I've heard the other November, but I've never heard of. Yeah. Hey, good.
There's no alcohol involved. Honestly, I saw at one point you pull a bottle off the shelf over your left shoulder.
Yeah, that was good. That was smooth. See, now don't show me right now. I'm 2 days into sober November.
Go with it, brother. I mean, look, more power to you. I love it. So make sure you can reach Chris on Instagram, and you can find out about berries and all the great things they're doing. It's just an amazingly wait. Hold on. Nicole, it's not Oliphant. That's Timothy Oliphant, who is an amazing actor, great in the movie.
No, Nicole, it is. Go with that.
You know what? You will be happy, Nicole, if you Google Oliphant, Timothy Oliphant. You will be happy because he is an amazing actor. I'm a huge Timothy Oliphant fan. Hopefully, they'll get him into the MCU or something like that.
There's your next shirt, though, Sean.
Yes.
Just do it the OnlyFans theme, but just do it as Oliphant. No one gets unless they listen to the show.
Subscribe to my Oliphant.
It's kind of like the whole "Let's Go Brandon" type kind of thing, where it's just Oliphant.
I love it. Look, there we go, Dibs. There's our next one. Subscribe. I have shirts that like only matter if you watch the show. I still got to do the one that's the Facetrication. I keep saying I'm going to do that one. We had this great guy on. He's going to come back. We're doing a giveaway. And this is kind of, I'll segue into this real quick. Pay attention, folks. We got a giveaway coming up with Phoenix Shaving for a starter kit from Phoenix Shaving. Do you know what Phoenix Shaving is, Chris?
That's the shave club where it sends to you, or
it doesn't send to you, but it is kind of like a shaving organization, and they have the best smells for all their stuff. It's all more classic. Like they have Old Spice that smells like Old Spice we grew up with. They have
that. Yeah.
I wear a lot of Bay rum. That's my favorite smell is Bay rum, and all these things. And even their shampoo, like instead of it being like a liquid shampoo, it looks like a hockey puck. There's one for you, Dib.
There you go.
It looks like a hockey
new
puck.
Sponsor.
And we're going to do a giveaway for those guys. But he was on the show and we talked about guys that are constant, that always do this, that always rub their beard and always are constantly doing this. It's called Facetrication instead of masturbation, Facetrication. And I'm like, I got to do this shirt. And I just can't find the right image where it looks like a hand going.
I got you.
You know what it is, though? My wife keeps making me shave it off for the wedding and stuff. So I'm just so happy to get it back. I'm just like, oh, it's such a comfort blanket.
I'm a Marine Corps rep for Wreaths Across America in December. And I had this big epiphany. I'm like, oh, shit, it all has to go away. Like, no, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. But, so that's coming up, folks. So make sure you're taking a look. And as we always say, make sure if you're finding our show for the first time because of Chris, please give us a like, follow, go onto our iTunes and give that 5-star rating and leave a comment. You have no idea what that does for us, how valuable that follow is and that subscription is. This is how this grows. This is how more people hear Chris's story. This is how more people find the show and hear all 152 other stories that we have out there. And if you didn't know that, folks, this is episode 152. So there's 151 other stories out there of things you can learn about. Go take a look at those folks and listen to them. And again, if you have something that you're supporting, make sure that you thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you for that. That really means a lot. Eva, thank you so much for following also. I appreciate you guys, but that's how we get this thing going. We get that sticker and a cause going. Dibs, you got anything else coming up? I know you're getting ready to go do some drone work. What else you got?
No, we got another game. We're home again this week. We won 15-2. If you get us,
Would you fucking play hockey? That's a football score.
I know. Our team's good, man. We've got a lot of guys that just got caught, but we just started a new TikTok, Gaylord Snow Hockey. Go give it a follow, give it a like. There's all sorts of fun content. There's a one-punch knockout that happened at our last game. So our guys are intense, and we've got some guys that are moving up. So yeah, it's just getting into the brunt of hockey season.
All right. And don't log off after this, Chris. We got to talk for 1 minute after the show's over with. But something we do on every episode that's very, very, very important to me is the guest always gets the last word. So what's the last word for today? What, are you muted? Chris, are you mute? How did you get muted? Hold on a second. You muted your mic. Mic isn't connected, it says. This is great. I can't hear you, Chris. No. You're still muted. How did you pull this off? The final word is Chris muted himself.
It's because he put one AirPod away and then the AirPod got confused. And
you're not connected. You're not connected. I can't unmute you. This is so great. Oh, this is so great.
The first time you
go ahead, get the big pump up there. First time that I need something from him, and he somehow completely muted himself. Click on the screen. Like, let me help you out there, Jim, buddy. On the screen, it should say somewhere about unmute. Can you unmute from the screen? I don't know. Where's your wife at? It's Corinne. Where's she at? I can't unmute you. You can hear me. I know you can hear me. I can see you pointing and giving thumbs up and all that.
None of us can't hear you.
Okay. I mean,
it's the big unmute button.
There it is.
Hey!
Wow. I can fix a car engine. I can't figure out a computer for the life of me.
You need your mom.
No, sorry about that. One died. It was a little do, and then the other died, and then that's the extent of my technological knowledge.
Oh, that's so great. So what is your final word?
Housekeeping. Where can I have this? Like, am I gonna be able to share this link with my people so everyone can check this out after?
Absolutely. So this link right now is live. So as soon as you and I get done, if they go onto Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, this is out there for them. They can grab this without any problem, and you can share it to everywhere. And then the actual rest of the show, there's Karina. Please help him with his earpods, Karina.
Yeah, Karina.
Karina, please help.
Tutorial.
Help him out with that. Night, Nicole. Thank you for being great. We appreciate it. Look, Karina said, she said, you figure it out. But no, so this is live. And then if they want to hear, maybe they're in the gym and they want to listen back to this. The audio goes out at 7:00 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, on every platform you can even imagine. And I always tell everyone, if you like it as much as I do, make sure you take the person on the bus next to you's phone out of their hand while they're playing Candy Crush and sift through their phone and make sure you make them subscribe. They'll appreciate it as a perfect stranger that you've done that for them.
See, you can tell Sean's a 210-pound Marine because most people wouldn't just be so bold as to take the phone out of the person's hand next to them.
Let me see that motherfucker for a minute. And then hand it back. And when they're like, what did you do? Be like, I did you a favor.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess that's our final note then. You're welcome. We're all
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.